are getting larger chunk of FAC allocations, I can tell you that even some federal parastatals and federal ministries, not talk of state. Yesterday, a friend called me from Owerri, Imo State, and said that they have not been paid monthly their February salaries. So what are they using those monies for? This particular bill that Ifeanyi Ubah is championing is another conduit pipe, another avenue to create job for the boys, another avenue to score a political cheap popularity, because as far as we know, he is gearing up to contest the forthcoming Anambra governorship elections. So this will be some of his bold and capital achievements going into the electioneering campaign in Anambra State. We don't need those political jamborees. We don't need those political commissions. We don't need those commissions that at the end of the day, the people tends to suffer more than even they are suffering. It's only enriching the already enriched political class. Even when you're talking about the Southeast Commission, how will people get jobs there? Is it by those going with the complementary cards from the National Assembly members? Is it going by the Southeast Charter of Equity? Is it going by those who are qualified to work there and those who should supervise it and make sure that those monies that will be earmarked and disbursed are tracked? You know, follow the money till you see to the completion of the project which is meant for. Look at the number of abandoned NDDC projects scattered all over the NDDC states. So why are we always quick to create commissions and create the things that will not make for any good for the common man in Nigeria? The political class only look for an avenue to continue to enrich themselves and subjugate the already impoverished poor masses. Quote me, today is March 8th, that if this particular Southeast bill sees the light of the day, in 2 years' time, I will call you and ask you to point out any of a significant project that have been done with those monies.
Now, if I may ask, is this as a result of the politicians, or is it the fault of the masses? Because now you are of the school of thought that the bill should not be assented to, it should not be signed into law by the president. Now, your argument is coming from the angle of corruption by the ruling class.
Yes.
But then, let's look at the bigger picture for the greater good, and that is the masses. That is the people of the Southeast. What if, you know, a working governor emerges one day? What if a politician emerges from the ruling class who can actually be held accountable? Now, because of your reservations about the current ruling class, an opportunity is lost by the masses. Now, do not forget that this bill, if passed into law, can actually douse the tension in Southeast.
The bill will not douse any tension in the Southeast, I bet you. You can take it to the bank. Because there is no such commission or such committee that have created for the betterment of the life of the Southeasterners that has gotten to the masses. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Let me tell you here that the Northeast Commission will work perfectly. There is something former President Olusegun Obasanjo said. I think I will paraphrase it, because there was a lot of agitations during his tenure that the other sections of the country that they are progressing, that there's a lot of development Even that is what started the Niger Delta agitations. When they saw how Abuja is built, what is happening, the good roads in the northern part of the country. So President Obasanjo now asked the southeastern stakeholders that went to see him that why not go to your lawmakers, go to your the ruling class from your zone and ask them what they are doing with the money that is being given them from the same federal allocation and the creating of developmental projects that are scattered around the country. That if you give a man from the north and from the west, he takes it home to his people and better their lives. We don't say don't eat, but work and what? And eat. Let us see that we are not asking them to spoon feed us. We are asking, let us see concrete projects on ground that will affect the life of the masses. I want to give you an example. When El-Rufai came on the mandate of his first tenure in Kaduna State, El-Rufai rode on the back of the late Patrick Yakoa. That was where I heard he declared his intentions to run for the governor. And he made a promise to the people of that particular community and said that if he wins the governorship election, that the project that Yakoa started in rural electrification, rural road transformation and urbanization of his people, which has gone up to 40% before the man died, that he will complete it. But there was a PDP governor on seat. So immediately this man won. That was the first capital project El-Rufai did. You can make your research. In the community of the late Governor Patrick Yakoa, directly funded from the office of the governor and supervised by the traditional ruler of that particular community. When I was privileged to go there, I interacted with this traditional ruler, and he told me during the electoral campaign how he rejected all the moves, the monies that were given to him, and said he can't sell his people's conscience. That election is done by voting. Finish the voting. Anybody that emerges, whether APC or PDP, that they should fly. At the end of the day, El-Rufai carried the day and fulfilled that promise. My analysis is this. This man was living in a bungalow. He didn't use that money to enrich himself, to say, okay, this is my turn to start building complaints, start going to Abuja or Kaduna to live and build houses. He supervised the tarring and all the developmental strides in his community from the office of the governor. If he's in the southeast or south-south, that is an opportunity for that particular Royal Highness to enrich himself and relocate from his community to go and live in Abuja. What I'm giving you is a practical example. It's not that those ones will not work. Look at what Governor Zulum is doing. Going up to Niger and Chad to touch the life of his people, empathize with them. It's not about sympathy this time. But what we are talking about is, you're talking about what of a governor comes, or somebody that will now feel for the people. It won't work in the Southeast Development Commission. You know the reason? This is a federal funded project, and the federal perspective monitors from the federal. And once this commission flies, all of them in Abuja will start fighting for the soul of this particular commission. Nothing gets to the people. It's not that the federal government of Nigeria, when they talk about marginalization in Nigeria, only those people who are lily-minded and who don't go into research to know that once monies are shared, all the segmenting, federating units gets their equal share. What is your governor? What are the political class in the Southeast doing with all their monies over the years? Because they have seen the independence and the quest for self-survival in the Southeast. They are now using this against the people. Because in the Southeast, there's a slogan that the Igbo have no king. Because if you say you're feeding me, I say, okay, that pot you're using in feeding me, break it, I can survive. So they now feel that our people are enterprising. Our people don't wait for you to give them. Just like you call for a political gathering in the north, everybody is there. Somebody speaks and the trickles down. In the southeast, It's not like that. People go to their businesses. So the political awareness is not the same. The geographical location is not the same as to how people try to survive on their own and make ends meet. So our political leaders are cashing in on this particular self-determination of the Southeastern man to survive. I'm not waiting for the politician to bring the money from Abuja and give to him. And they now using it. There is no concrete, whether it's federal, whether it's state. I went to Imo State the other day. Go and see the type of road that the governor is doing on a federal road. There is no way for the pedestrians to move. The drainage is not covered. You don't even know where to stand and wait for the vehicle to come and pick you. Or if you want a alert from a non-moving vehicle, there is no chance at all for you to come out. But look at what Wike did in River State. Look at the pedestrian. Is it not the same monies that are going to them? Is Imo State not getting the same federal, the same 30% the oil derivations? Where are all these monies? In Anambra State, I'm told that apart from Lagos, Anambra is another state that makes the highest IGR in Nigeria. That Onitsha, Main Market, and Ochanja produces a lot of money. What are they doing with it? And you're telling me that the magic will be done by Southeastern Commission. I say no to it. And if the federal government want to cite any project, as they did in the second Niger bridge, let them have a direct project in the southeast and finance it from the office of the presidency, and not creating another conduit pipe for those people to begin to milk us. And again, what you should understand in this particular commission is that if the federal government have been sincere in solving the marginalization being done to the southeast, so to say, which for me, I don't see it. We are the bane of ourselves. We are our own making. If the regime of Yakubu Gowon have implemented the 3 R's, reconciliation, reconstruction, and is it restructuring of the Southeast, we won't be crying this foul today. But what happened to that particular commission? It didn't see the light of the day. So the wrath and the decadence over the years, that neglect, that self-pity that the Southeastern man felt for himself is what is driving the mental structure of the Southeasterner of marginalization. The Southeast is not marginalized as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
Yes, it's not marginalized because we are getting our fair share.
The political class is
the political class and the stakeholders are the people that are marginalizing us.
All right. Okay, on to the next story. The governors of the Southeast region on Thursday shunned the zonal public hearing on the national minimum wage held at the Nike Lake Hotel in Enugu State. The governors are Anambra Chukwuma Soludo, Abia State Alex Oti, Ebonyi State Francis Nweforo, Enugu State Peter Mba, and Imo State Hope Uzodinma. Correspondent reports that the governor also did not send representatives to the event. The public hearing was organized by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage to hear from stakeholders, including the governors who are implementers of the decision of the body. However, during the hearing, the stakeholders proposed 540,000 naira as minimum wage for Nigerian workers, while advised that minimum wage should be reviewed every 2 years, irrespective of the economic situation in the country. They insisted that any governor who failed to implement the minimum wage should be removed from office as having run foul of the law. The stakeholders included the Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, the Nigerian Medical Association, and the civil society organizations. According to the Enugu State chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Fabian Wibo, who spoke on behalf of the 5 Southeast states, the demand was jointly agreed on by all the members of the union in the Southeast. He also called for the minimum wage to remain in the exclusive legislative list so that no governor can tamper with it. Weibo disclosed that the union members considered the prices of goods in the country before coming up with the amount. Mr. Gochukwu, demanding 540,000 naira for minimum wage in the country. First of all, let's look at how realistic that is, and do you think it's something the government will even begin to consider at all? Seeing the humongous leap from 30,000 naira to over 500,000. Do not forget that all states have not yet implemented the 30,000 naira minimum wage. It's been a struggle, and the federal government recently started paying the wage award because of the debacle between them and the Nigerian Labour Congress. So do you think this is a very realistic amount pegged by Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress?
I want to say, first of all, that this is calling us to regionalism. You know, some people have called for Nigeria to go back to the parliamentary system of government. I think if going by what the disparities and the, you know, discordant tune
by the
NLC
over
now
the minimum
over
wage.
the minimum wage, I think if they can achieve that for us to go either to regionalism or back to parliamentary system of government, I think it will do us a whole lot of good. So, having said that, it is also germane to state that NLC should first of all push for the amendment of the Constitution if they want to achieve anything. They should push for the amendment of Constitution in the sense that they should let the Constitution capture the timeline and the lifetime of each minimum wage and the time to review it. And then they are talking about the exclusive list that is in the exclusive list. I don't think it is. Are we talking about the federal civil servants, or are we talking about all civil servants in Nigeria? Because we have state civil servants. So the proposals they are making, is it for the benefit of all? Just as you have said, there are some states that have not implemented the 30,000 naira minimum wage, which was approved more than 5 years ago. Then even it was the present governor of Rivers State who has mandated the local governments to pay that 30,000 naira. That means the local governments were neglected from Abidisio. All those things that Labour is fighting, all those noise they are making on the national space is only for those in Abuja and in the federal civil service payroll. What about those in the states? So what I will advise Labour in this case is for them to go and move for the rejig. At least Labour Party, whom they are sympathetic to, have some lawmakers in the National Assembly as of today. So they should go through their members or those that are sympathetic to them, and then move for the rejigging of whatever section of the Constitution that captures the payment of emoluments and entitlements and salaries for retired workers and for the present people that are still in active service. Once they do that, they have started on a journey. And again, if they come back, they will now ask the federal government to allow the states to interface with the civil servants in their state and say how much they are going to pay. Let me give you an example. If you come to the cost of living in Nigeria, it is not the same. If you tell a Southeasterner who is resident in the north to come back to the east, he'll tell you that the cost of living there is much, and he won't be able to train his children in school because those things are a lot affordable in the northern part of the country. Even the fuel we are talking about, we are buying 700 plus here, 800. In the north, there are people that are selling 500, 550. But you ask, is it the same country? It's because of what I said about the Southeast and their they are industrialized nature, the way they fend for themselves. While in the north, the politicians does almost everything for them, build health centers, provide borehole. Where it's not possible to provide a solar motorized borehole, they do this monopump and making sure that their people get the dividends of the democracy or whatever form of government they practice there. So, but when you come down to the east, you build your house, you provide personal security, you train your children in school, you pay for, you sink borehole, you are a local government on your own. So whatever the government, policies the government brings does not affect you. But our people forget that even the workers, they forget that if you don't involve in participatory governance, I mean participatory governance, which is a continuum. It's not a question of we have voted, our vote didn't count. If we go and vote now, they will, our vote will not count. No, it is a continuous process. It is not, there's no full stop in the governance of any given nation. And it is the masses, it is the labor that champions and keeps the government on their toes. So if labor goes to sleep and only talk about their own welfare, as the present reality is in Nigeria now, what is even 540,000? Because in some clients, they pay per hour. As you're working, your wages trickle. Their minimum wage is for per hour and per week and per month, as the case may be. But here we are talking about a family of 5.
We'll still get to that. But,
yes,
but
I know.
Let's look at the attitude of the Southeast governors towards this minimum wage conversation, shunning the meeting, not even attending and not sending representatives. Can their absence, their deliberate absence, be interpreted as, lack of care and empathy towards the civil servants, or can it be interpreted as their complete disinterest in what is going on within the civil service sector and a clear unwillingness to increase the wage awards?
Those governors you're talking about interface with the hierarchy of the labor every now and then. So before somebody will neglect you, before somebody will call the bluff of you, the person must have seen all. Like we say in our local parlance, we say see finish. So you don't expect somebody whom you have allegedly sold your conscience to. You have allegedly mortgaged your right and your whatever you represent to. And when you call for a meeting, you expect the person to honor the meeting. No, that goes to show you that, like I said earlier, that the labor need to look inward. They need to come out and stab the authority, and they should be partisan. Labor should not be involved. I mean, the NLC, I'm not talking about Labour Party now. I'm talking about the labor.
You said they should be partisan.
The
Nigerian Labour Congress should be partisan.
They should. They have their own mantra. They have what they follow. They have labor is a huge organization. Labor can sink the economy of the country if they are united. I'm not saying that they should be partisan in politics, but they should come together and form a formidable force that when they sneeze, the government, any government in power, should be catching cold. But look at what happened in the Palais, that the tripartite committee that was set by the federal government to go and interface with them in their different zones. And in the south, is not even one governor came. The governors have seen it all and said that these people are not serious. So this will puncture the conscience of the labor leaders to go and look inward and see what they are not doing right. And not always, opening their teeth and closing it when they are before cameras, before those governors. Rushing to go and, take pictures with them to make for home portraits. No, that is not why you are there. That is not what you are representing. Because I could remember when the last money was changed, it was through civil servants. My dad was a civil servant. My mom just retired from civil service. They told me that it is from the civil servants that government distributes any new cash that comes in. Or even you want to see meat, this one that they sell in occasions now is through a civil servant. When a civil servant is paid, you will see the type of money that they use in paying them. But what do we have in Nigeria now? Is because the civil service has completely lost grip of what it is known for. It is now acting not like a watchdog, is now a toothless bulldog. While a labor organization, they say they will hold any governor that did not implement it accountable. What is the law? What is the binding law on the governor to pay? On the governor to honor what the federal government is pushing to them. That is why I have told you that if this proposed minimum wage is for the federal civil servants, is their state, are the states going to have their own?
All right.
Are the local governments going to have their own? If they don't come out with a blueprint on what they want, and also check the average spending of an adult Nigerian every day and factor it into what they are. We know there is a lot of money that will be in circulation, and I know that the federal government also will not like a lot of cash to be flying around. So at the end of the day, after the proposals they have made, the federal government will come out with a white paper, while the governors will now counter it, and even throughout this year, the minimum wage review might not see the light of the day.
All right. Very important questions, Mr. Ugochukwu. When we come back from this break, we are still on minimum wage, and perhaps Mr. Ugochukwu will answer these questions. Do not go away.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. For workers in the Southwest Geopolitical Zone, the Nigerian Labour Congress has called for a new national minimum wage of 794,000 naira. Chairman of the Lagos State Nigerian Labour Congress, Mrs. Funmi Sesi, made the aforesaid recommendation to the ruling government on Thursday. Sesi made the call in the memorandum submitted at the Southwest Geopolitical Zone public hearings organized by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage, chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, held in Agidimba, Ikeja, Lagos. Sesi said the call for the review has become expedient in view of the rising cost of living across economic sectors, hence the need for an upward review of the minimum wage for Nigerian workers that is sustainable. The union described the stance of some governors' inability to pay the minimum wage as unacceptable. Mr. Gochukwu, there appears to be discordant tones between the different geopolitical zones. Could this be a masterstroke by the federal government when they said they were going to have zonal public hearing on minimum wage increments? Because apparently NLC isn't speaking with one voice.
Yes.
The Southeast has come up with their own, the North has come up with their own, and now Southwest is coming up with 709, that is 6,000 naira shy of 800,000 naira for minimum wage. What do you have to say to that?
I see that labor, because if you go by the discrepancies in what they're asking for a living wage, it's they want to, at the end of the day, hold the government to the jugular at 500,000. Because if you look at it, all of them are going above 500,000. So at the end of the day, they will be dragging it at 500,000, and the government will have the final say, because the government will be the final arbiter that will say what she can pay. So if you go by what the labor is saying in the Southwest, you look at the cost of living, you look at the cost of living, you look at the way the Southwesterners approach such issues when it comes to civil service. You know, we see them as the most civilized. We see them as the most schooled, those whose stock in trade is hinged on civil service. So when you go by that trajectory, you will not be lost as to why they're asking for 794,000, 6,000 shy of 800,000. And when you go by it, those that came out with this proposal must have looked at the current realities.
Let's look at the current realities,
yes,
that will amount to 794,000 as minimum wage.
The current realities, you look at how much they are buying a liter of fuel.
Rent.
Which is now being controlled by the market forces. The government cannot control it now.
Okay. You
buy and sell, and in Nigeria, we are anticipating, if the government has not come to put a definite seal on the price tag, on the landing cost, or to come out in the open and tell us if they're still paying subsidy or not, because we heard that the landing cost now is about 1,000 plus. That means if you are still dancing around 700 plus and all that, something is being paid. Something is being done.
We don't want to go into that conversation.
Yes, something is being. No,
that's a different.
No, what I'm trying to say is that there is room for, upward increment as it concerns the petroleum,
PMS.
the PMS.
It might
you can wake up any day and it will increase as the months go by. Okay, for example, we are going into the rainy season. When the seas are high in volume, the navigation of the vessels begins to snowball, and it will also affect it, the movement on the road and all that. So we are as the economic realities stars us in the face, that the PMS will continue to increase. That's the reality, and is a hard fact we have to accept.
Okay,
so
now that's on one side, one
the
consideration.
When you talk about rents, you're talking about a 2-bedroom flat that was paid at 250,000 before.
Now you're talking of. I want you to also have this in perspective. We're talking of minimum wage,
yes.
So not necessarily a very comfortable life, but a life that you survive by daily. So when you're looking at a minimum wage earner paying for 2-bedroom flat, how feasible is that? Okay, let's say a minimum wage earner with a family of 4, father, mother, 2 children. Then you look at the rents. A minimum wage person in Nigeria right now cannot be looking at 2-bedroom flats. It's not practical, or is it? Then you look at feeding, you look at education, you look at medical bills. Nigerians at this point do not talk about insurance. You look at utility bills as well, lights, recharge cards, sanitary
usage.
Yes, so, and that includes detergents and all of that. You look at all this nitty-gritty. You look at clothing.
You look at food.
Labour was putting clothing at monthly. It's not feasible for a family that is on minimum wage. Usually, most families on minimum wage buys clothes during special occasions like festivities, during period of festivities. So let's just. I want you to look at it from the angle of somebody who is realistically trying to survive on minimum wage level, with a family of 4. I want to understand how they go to 794,000.
When we talk about this, you know that the world is a global village. Where Nigeria cannot be existing in isolation.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it a Nigerian thing. You are painting the picture as if Nigeria is a very poor nation. Nigeria is not a poor nation.
Minimum wage earners in Nigeria, are they above poverty line?
We just spoke about some people being investigated for 1.2 billion. So I don't want to look at it with the mindset of Nigeria as a poor nation. No, Nigeria is never a poor nation. I studied overseas. When I went there, they asked you, what are you coming to do here? Because some of their people, those expatriates, they come here, make money and go home. So most of us pay school fees before the Oyibo. Ask anybody who has gone to study. Because in Nigeria, when your parents can dole out maybe 200,000, 400,000 and pay to you, they stagger their payments, and they pay according to the unit cost you can pay. You might be in a course you might be studying a course that has about 5 subjects or 10, and you can pay for 3. You pay and you start going for classes. When you have money, you pay. But here in school in Nigeria, you pay everything at a go, or some people give you to pay on 2 installments if they are charitable. But I'm looking at it on the global stage with the world view of where Nigerian Labour Congress derives her own authority, which is the IOC. So I'm trying to let you know that their experts must have taken time to know what it is that will survive an average adult Nigerian per day. Just like you pay for your visa, any day your foot is on that particular country you find out that you have paid for it. That is what Labour is trying to achieve. What Labour is trying to achieve today is for a decent living wage.
Okay.
When you say that with the assumption of how we live our lives in Nigeria here, that a civil servant cannot afford to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, I disagree with you, because overseas where they go, where all those big politicians go, and those high-ranking civil servants go, they build houses and is 3-bedroom apartment with master's bedroom, and the other 2 rooms have their conveniences shared. So if it happens in Nigeria, if the government is building low-cost housing estates and the building affordable houses for civil servants to, somebody who will work for 35 years and you are employed, let's say in the next 5 years, you are being given an apartment and the money is deducted as at when due. Before 20 years, you're able to see out that rent. It happens everywhere in the world. I want to bring something in. I went to the Federal Secretariat last week. Do you know that I climbed 8-story building on foot because I was going to the Defense Ministry? I said, where else does this happen in the world? That you will see 4-story building, condo, being, somebody will climb it on foot, and you have workers there. You have elderly women. You have those that have put in 25, 30 years in civil service. Age is no longer on their side, and you are expecting them to climb 8-story building. So this is what we are saying. We are not painting the picture of being sympathetic to the Nigeria. A lot of wastages, a lot of loopholes that we need to plug. We need to plug in, and then be able to save a lot of money to pay Nigerian workers. Nigerian workers are the people who are taking themselves for a ride because they don't know what the civil service is. How many percentage are there in Nigeria? If you go into a state and take out those who are civil servants, how many percentage are there in Nigeria? How many are there that the government cannot pay them? You see all the monies flying around. You see how the budgets are going. Before you know it now, they will bring in supplementary budget. Because you know that in the lifetime of this budget, it was hinged on 800, 750 per dollar. But you see what the dollar is reacting now. There must be, why they have not gone for supplementary budget for Nigerians for them not to start shouting. But I am telling you the truth that before you know it, supplementary budget will appear and they will pass it. So those things, they should capture it. Even if this minimum wage is not in the lifetime of this present budget, if it is approved for the well-being and for government
You see this minimum wage, in your opinion, you see this minimum wage flying?
The minimum wage will fly.
At what amount?
The minimum wage will fly. They are dancing around 500,000. I'm seeing it that once it gets to 500,000, the government will now come down and peg it on their own. Even the government will not pay that 500,000 because the conservative nature of the Nigerian politicians to give out money to those who are non-colleagues. Just like they say in the legal parlance, when they say my learned colleague. Maybe some of us didn't go to school. But in the Nigerian circle, you find out that a typical Nigerian politician will not dole out money to you if you are not, dancing on the same pedestal with him.
Do you see this minimum wage flying at 100,000 naira?
This minimum wage will go above 100,000. I'm looking at 250,000 because yes, I'm looking at 250,000 okay. Because of the realities. How much is Gary costing in the market? How much is medical bill? If you go to buy paracetamol now, it has increased. If you have any health challenge, you go to the hospital, the doctor factor in his own problems and his own economic reality into what you're going to be charged. So the government should come out with sincerity. I am very happy that the minister and coordinating minister of the economy, Wale Edu, attended that particular sitting in Lagos. Maybe because Lagos is the centerpiece, they wanted to show the workers that they really mean what they are saying by constituting the tripartite committee. But at the end of the day, all I know is that the government will take all the suggestions, all those white papers Labour has presented from different zones of the country, and they will come back to tinker it. And I know that Labour will not accept anything less than 250,000 as a minimum wage in Nigeria too, you know, because, you know, once you're talking about this minimum wage of 794,000, you're looking at the money that the least worker, that is a stepping stool. But you talk about the directors and how they cadre the, as you go in cadre, the levels, and your monies are being increased. So you look at a director, you look at a PAMSEC going home with at least 1.5 million, which is not bad. Look at a professor in Nigeria, is earning 500, 400,000 naira as a take home. Why will the person not try to cajole students into buying handouts and paying extraordinary fees? So if you do that, you are doing a whole lot of service to Nigeria. The civil service will be up and doing. The civil service will be devoid of bribery and corruption. The civil service will be able to checkmate those politicians. You see that in Rivers State, Governor Seminari Fubara appointed 16 PAMSECs, and you know that a commissioner cannot do anything without, you know, without going into conversation and agreement with a PAMSEC. And the PAMSEC, who is not a political appointee, reports directly to the governor, and the governor knows what is going on in that particular ministry. Okay. At the end of the day, you find out that the monies that are being lost when you give it to political appointees is being somehow conserved and saved and channeled to the proper way when you go through PAMSECs. Okay. So a civil servant who is working for the government and who is hoping to retire someday and go into pension will not be able to be so, how do I put it, we will not have so much appetite in trying to make a lot of money Mr. as to compare to the political class.
Mr. Gochukwu, while what you're saying appears to be very idealistic, right, let's still come down to the Nigerian reality. Let's look at the increment, the last increment. It was increased from 18,000
yes,
to 30,000. As at the time the minimum wage was increased from 18,000 to 30,000 naira, it still fell far below the expectation of the civil servants
and the realities of the time.
At the realities of the time. Now we are in another reality, and you're saying the government that increased under harsh reality increased from 18,000 to 30,000. We willingly increase from 30,000 to 250,000. I want you to marry that reality. That's number one. Then number two, let us look at the states now. You talked about Imo State, you know, when at the earlier time of this conversation, you mentioned that Imo State, a friend of yours called you, who is a civil servant, yes, called you and said they've not been paid for February salary, and we are already in March, and that is 30,000 naira wage award. Now, what makes you think that a state that is finding it difficult to pay 30,000 naira wage award will be able to pay 250,000 naira wage award like you have postulated? That's on one hand. Now, there are states that have still not implemented the 30,000 naira wage award. They are still at the 18,000 naira. Even local governments in Nigeria, they have not implemented the 30,000 naira wage award. And that's a sad reality. What makes you think these local governments and these states will be able to pay 250,000 naira wage award? Are you saying that moving forward the federal government will take over both federal and state parastatals? Because I am trying to reconcile how states will be able to pay. Do not forget that some states are neck deep in debt. Some states are actually, the debt they are in is so huge that I think one state, was that Ebonyi State or so, it's neck deep in debt to the tune of trillions. So now, how do you expect a state like that to pay this amount of minimum wage? Can you, all the idealistic things you have said, can you marry them to current realities on ground?
You're coming to your first question.
Yes.
The government has no option than to pay. The federal government have no option. They don't have any reason whatsoever, given the natural and human resources God has embedded in the belly of Nigeria, not to pay. Because a friend of mine went to the AFCON in Ivory Coast. I don't know, if you go to a barber salon now, you find out how much they are using in cutting a hair. It's because of some of the feedbacks they got. It was 2,500 naira if you convert it. Then the ladies' hair are made at above 50 to 100,000. I mean, this AFCON that just ended 11th of last month. You go to South Africa, you find out how much they're using in cotton hair. You go to, I watched a video of a lady who traveled to Canada. When the hair, she braided her hair, when the hair was due to be replated, she went there thinking it's the same in Nigeria. She became another P2B of our time. She punched her calculator and it was giving her 250,000. 250,000. He said 250,000 that I could use in settling some people at home. She said she went in to the barbering section of that particular unisex salon and said, cut my hair. After cutting the hair, she videoed it and made these pronouncements. So when you're looking at that, when you're looking at what the current realities, as I keep telling you, the federal government have no reason whatsoever not to pay. Is Nigeria going forward or not? And if they want to cut the brain drain syndrome, the Japa syndrome in Nigeria, they have no option. If President Muhammadu Buhari is very sincere in cutting down the Japa syndrome and the brain drain, because I was so happy while going through this particular report that the Nigeria Medical Association is involved. So I was so happy and say that, okay, the federal government, if not for the career civil servant who carries file around, that's what they call them. They say they carry file around. But the medical doctors are involved now. We are not even, ASU has not even come up with their own. ASU has not come up with their own. So what I'm trying to say is that the federal government will be doing themselves a whole lot of disservice and telling Nigerians that we are already bankrupt. And it is a sign of a failing state.
Okay.
Then, to the second leg of your question that will the governors pay? The governors have no option than to pay. That is why I say that if this particular minimum wage saga will lead us into a true federalism, where the federal government will allow the states to function. Even I thought by now the Federal Executive Council or this National Council of States they normally do will come up with a suggestion of a true federalism in the true sense of it, so that the states will now, you said that some states are bankrupt, they are moribund, they are in the deep neck in debt.
Yes.
No, they are not deep neck in debt. It's what they brought upon themselves. What are the infrastructural landmark projects they have done with these monies? What is the overflow? What is the output? What is the income from all the monies that are borrowed from federal government? From what is the percentage of the civil service that say they are borrowing money to pay civil servants? Those monies are flying out of the country. So what I'm saying here is that if this minimum wage will bring us to the true reality of true federalism, where the federal government will remove this minimum wage issue in the exclusive list and put it in the concurrent list, where each governors, I've said it before in the beginning of this particular beginning of this particular show, that they should, allow the state governors have interface with their own state NLC and find out how much they can pay, given the realities and the budget of the state. Because you cannot say that a state like Lagos, like what you are seeing in 700 and something thousand in the southwest, is not far-fetched. I may not be far from the truth if I say they are drawing it from Lagos State, because Lagos State produces a lot of IGR, and other states in that, like Ekiti and Osun, will they be able to pay? So it's better that federal government know what they pay to federal civil servants and allow the states to go and interface with their own and see how much they are going to pay. Then finally, in your question, it will be in the best interest of the Nigerian worker if they pay. If they pay, it will douse a lot of tensions. Okay. It will make a lot of families to come out of that poverty line. The middle class is gone in Nigeria. 250,000 is payable. More than 250,000 is payable, so that if before you are able to calculate the arrears and the monuments of the senior civil servants, at least they will be getting up to 1 million. Okay. If they get up to 1 million and plus, I am not far from the truth, and I will not be overemphasizing it if I assert here that federal government and the state governments can pay without qualms.
All right. Senator representing Kaduna Central, Lawan Adamu Usman, has observed that in the last few weeks of the year 2024, Kaduna Central senatorial zone had witnessed escalation of tensions as a result of terrorist attacks, killings and abductions in several communities in Kajuru, Chikun, Birin Gwari, Giwa and Egabi local government areas. According to him, today I am saddened in a state of root shock on the abduction of pupils and primary school and students of secondary school at Kuriga, Chikun local government area along the dreaded Birin-Gwari Kaduna highway. The spate of gruesome attacks and abductions in recent days has demoralized the citizens and further put them in a traumatic condition without insight of a sign of relief. As a senator representing the area, I extend my deepest sympathy to all the parents and families of the pupils and students abducted at Kuriga and all those that lost their precious lives. Although our security forces are working assiduously to bring our children back safely, I urge government at all levels and our security forces to be more proactive rather than reactive in dealing decisively with miscreants terrorizing our communities. He further said, despite all the efforts and successes recorded by the security forces to curtail attacks by terrorists, there is the need to take the fight to the doorstep of the terrorist enclave. The senator is saying there is need at this point to take the fight to the terrorist enclave. Severally in the past, the military have revealed that they've actually gone to their enclave to fight them. And of course, rescues have been done. The military have also embarked in rescue operations. So when the senator is now coming out to say, at this point, the fight has to go to the doorstep of these bandits, is he saying it figuratively? Or is the government going to do something different from what they've been doing all these years? And why does it seem that, why is it that insecurity in Nigeria seems to be a battle the government appears not to be? Yes.
Well, I've spoken in different fora. I've spoken a lot about insecurity in Nigeria, that I'm really getting fed up in somewhat about it. It is really a sad news. My heart skipped yesterday when I had that breaking news of the adoption of over 200 students in that particular axis of Kaduna State. this is not the first time. I was even trying to make comparisons with the Chibok girls' adoption and the Kankara students, which is the highest mass adoption we have witnessed in the history of, I think, in Africa. So it entered the Guinness Book of Records.
The
Kankara students' adoption, and you saw the way they also came back with the children in uniforms and all that. So the insecurity in Nigeria is becoming a mirage. That when some of us speak about it, we speak with caution. The senator will not tell me that he has not been in the know of the security challenges in Kaduna State, in the northeast and northwest, even during the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. You are now thinking that by now it should have been abated, but what do we see? We are seeing the heightening of it, of the insecurity, the adoption, that a whole bus will be adopted, taken into the bushes. I heard this morning that the police, the military are combing the bushes. Where are those bushes? Where are those bushes? I was on a program when I said that the military boots, you know why they make it so hard? It's for them to help them to navigate the bad terrain, the forest. You know why the tire of their armored vehicles and their patrol vans is made with thick tires? Is so that they can navigate through the forest. It has what we call automatic gear, where you, even if you enter a mud or a very sandy place, you can navigate. We saw it when the Chadian soldiers invaded ISWAP and chased them away from their enclave and also from Nigerian territorial boundaries. So the senator representing Kaduna Central, for me, is making a political statement. He's being sagacious. He's being economical with the truth. The former governor of Kaduna State said it openly that they have paid the bandits to leave. Till today, nobody called him to account. Till today, nobody mentioned of it. People has been caught, you know, hiding in the houses of top politicians, and they are linked to banditry, they are linked to kidnapping, and nothing happens. So when evil festers, it becomes a norm in any given society. When you don't prosecute, we only hear that we have eliminated, we have done, but those on either on area manned planes, that's the drone, the fighter jets have what they call cameras, reconnaissance cameras, where they pinpoint their actual location, and when they pinpoint the target, it records. We are not seeing those clips. We are not seeing where the bandits are eliminated. You see how they kill people in their villages in Kaduna, Kajuru. You talk about Chukun, talk about Brenengware, which has become a war-torn community over time. So you look at it and say that those places, they kill their people and we see their dead bodies. They conduct mass burials. I want the Nigerian security agencies to dare me and show us where they have mass burial of terrorists or bandits being eliminated. I want somebody to challenge me from any quarters and say that Nigerian military or Nigerian Air Force, after eliminating those people, either through air or ambush or going into their enclaves, has been alleged by the senator, after killing those people, after the mass killing, they make a record, a video of where they are being mass buried. Let us know the truth. Who is fooling who? The last Buhari administration spent a whole lot of money. You know how many, is it $1 trillion or how many $1 billion he earmarked before even when Nigerians started crying out, before he now went to the Senate and seek for approval. But he has already, you know, disbursed the money, signed the contract of bringing in ammunition and armaments. What about the Tucano jets? Why are they silent? Why are they, all these military warheads, all these military movements that we see during election, show of force, show of this? In the southeast is Operation Crocodile Tears. In the southwest is this. In the Egweke, all this and that. We are not seeing them in the northwest and the northeast. And we are not seeing them in Kaduna. Let me tell you about Kaduna State. Kaduna State is where terrorists should fear to go in Nigeria because of the number of infantry, amphibia, brigade, and all the military institutions and the naval institutions and all the Air Force institutions are domiciled in Kaduna State. You have the Nigerian Defense Academy, you have the Nigerian Infantry Battalion, you have the Nigerian War School, you have all this the Nigerian Police College, you have the Nigerian War College, you have all of them. Maybe in the next program, if you invite me, I'll be able to bring out all the Nigerian military bases that are domiciled in Kaduna State. But what is happening in Kaduna? Somebody should start talking to us. Is it a case of, you know, a particular area? You know, Kaduna is made up of this Christian, Muslim, enclave and all that. So why are we not hearing attacks on the other side, on the other divide of Kaduna State? What is really going on in Kaduna State? The federal government, the new state governor, Issa, should start talking to us and begin to disabuse people's mind of what happened during the El-Rufai administration. When a governor said he has paid the bandits to leave, he has paid them to stop killing, and that any killing that is done, that they have asked these people to leave. So it's very, very disheartening. My heart goes out to the families and parents of those adopted children, right, and the head teachers and the schools. And also, you know, we are quick to forget in Nigeria. I don't know why we don't talk about the emotion and the mental trauma that those children will go through, what it will cause in their psyche. The thing will linger for a long time. And it is saddening that those who study the psychology in Nigeria, those who did guidance and counseling, child psychology, are redundant. The government don't employ them. They don't even do anything. National Orientation Agency is redundant. This is where they will come in, go to Kaduna State after the release of these people and begin to, you know, conscientize them, speak to their minds, because don't be surprised that most of them will say they are not going to school again. Don't blame them. Right. Most of them, that fear will be in them. But I'm calling out on the Nigerian security agencies, whatever they have to do. Their military helicopters, their fighter jets, the Tucano jets should be called up. Right. There should be deployment. This Operation Safe Haven in Kaduna State, their directors, their brigades, commands, what are they doing? Okay. What is the response minutes? What is the response time to a call for distress in Kaduna State? As we have known it, that is prone to kidnapping, is prone to terrorist attack, is prone to banditry. And what baffles me most is when you say is header-farmer clash. If you come to my house and you are making a trouble with me, and another person comes to settle the problem, whom will the person ask to leave the house for peace to reign? Will he ask the owner of the house to leave his house for peace to reign, or the intruder to go out so that peace will reign? Okay. This is food for thought for the Nigerian government. All right.
The National Broadcasting Commission has lodged an appeal at the Court of Appeal in Abuja against a November 23rd, 2023 ruling by Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja. The ruling dismissed the Commission's motion to set aside this judgment delivered on May 10, 2023, restraining NBC from further imposing fines on radio and television stations. In a notice of appeal filed on his behalf by Mr. Babajide Kuku, leading Mr. Victor Ogude, Mr. Kehinde Wilkie, and Ms. Anowulapo Babalola, the NBC is asking the appeal court to set aside the ruling and grant the Commission's application to set aside the judgment delivered on May 10, 2023. The judgment arose from a suit instituted by Abuja-based lawyer Mr. Noah Ajare on behalf of Media Rights Agenda, challenging the powers of NBC to fine broadcasters following a March 1, 2019 announcement by NBC that it has imposed a fine of 500,000 naira each on 45 broadcast stations for alleged contraventions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code. In its May 10, 2023 judgment, Justice Omotosho ruled that the fines are sanctions imposed on a person who has been found guilty of a criminal offense, and that under the law in Nigeria, only courts of law are empowered to impose sanctions for criminal offenses. In setting aside the fines of 500,000 naira each imposed on the stations, he held that the NBC is neither a court nor a judicial tribunal to make pronouncements on the guilt of broadcast stations, notwithstanding that what the NBC code says, adding that the Commission's action violated the Constitution. Mr. Ugochukwu, you were smiling all through.
Yes.
This appears interesting to you. What do you have to say to this?
This is very interesting. I want to say kudos to Justice Omotosho for standing her ground. And also this will tell us that the Constitution is still supreme. NBC is just a commission. It's even not a ministry. It's a commission under the purview of the Ministry of Information. So for them to assume the jurisdiction of a law court or a panel set by a government, or for them to assume the statutory power of now fining a broadcasting commission, which is a product of the law. Because before you set up any broadcasting station, you go through the rudiments. And I'm not saying it because I'm seated here. I've appeared on different forums, and if I'm here making an allegation now, or if I'm coming here to speak things that are not factual, that are unverifiable, you, the anchor, will call me to order. Most times they tell you to, take back what you have said. And most times we, the opinion molders, will say that, in my view, that this view is not the view of Atlantic television network. So I've taken it. If NBC wants to come, they should come after me, because there has been a disclaimer. And immediately after some of the programs, the television or radio stations do air that the views and opinions shared here is practically and personally the view of the resource person. They have already, washed their hands off whatever the person says. Then the NBC should be tracking the person and not, I see the NBC as a puppet, as a commission for witch hunt. Especially when you talk about during the pre-election, during the proper electioneering campaigns, they seem to be singing the praise of the government in power, or the incoming government they perceive to be in the pole position to win the said coming election. They are playing politics. They shouldn't be involved in any political affinity. They shouldn't be seen. They are serving the Nigerian masses. They are serving the Nigerian state. They should not be a tool to witch hunt a perceived radio or television station seem to be opposing or seems to be tainting to inviting personalities who speak their mind And what we come here to say is for the nation to move forward, for the betterment of the country called Nigeria. Nobody, you don't go there and make there your home. No place like home. The white man that gave that assertion is not far from the truth, because the way you are free in your home, you're not carrying passport around, you're not being checkmated, or before your passport is renewed, you go through a whole lot of examinations and all that to know if you are rough out of the laws of the country. In your country, you don't go about with your international passport. You don't need a visa. So once some of us come and posit, and the NBC sees that maybe you are attacking a sitting government, when you mold an opinion, the government should, look into it and pick the facts that will help them to do better. But because why we sit here is we want Nigeria to function like those places we go to, and we see things happening in the proper way, things being put in place in the proper perspective. It is not the angels, I always posit, that made those countries what they are today. It is human beings. God has created the world,
so quickly,
and given it to human beings to possess. So the MBA, why I deviated is to tell you that the MBA, though they are working for the government, but they shouldn't be instrument and seen as a political a political body or an extension of the ruling party in order to witch hunt those radio or television stations or the media space, whether print or visual or audio, seem to be molding opinions for the betterment of the country. They should be out to look for the facts. And for them to be imposing 500,000 fine, how much are the media space making for them to be fined such? So they should, the government or the right organization who have taken them to court should also sue for the amendment of the establishment of the MBC code. I want them to go further. As they have obtained this judgment now from the appeal court, they should go further to, to begin to question and think out what brought about that particular humongous amount. And even when they get the amount, what is it meant for? I want to advise MBA to always go to the law courts. If you find any media station, any media space, be it print, be it visual or audio, that run foul of your laid down rules, take the person to court and let the courts decide, and also decide the particular fine.
All right.
That should, because not all offenses that carry the same punishment.
Sadly, we are out of time, and this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Blowout on Atlantic Television Network. Thank you so much, Mr. Ugochukwu Ifeanyichukwu, for coming on this show today.
I'm so grateful to be here, and I want the government to look at the good side of us and the good side of what we put out on the table and make our country better. Nigeria is our country. We are going nowhere.
Of course. Do not forget, you can stay connected on all Atlantic Television Network socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Do not forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching. I am Ogu Laurentia Choma. Open conversation comes up next. Don't go away.